you want to move on to villain?
Uh, yeah, we'll move on to villains now. We got through the heroes. Now we'll go to the villains, and we'll
So,
we'll do overall villain.
okay.
Like overall, who's your favorite main villain? Then we'll get into like henchmen, like male and female, and we're covering a lot today. And then maybe our favorite Blofeld, since there's so many different Blofelds, we'll choose our favorite. But we'll just start off with the main villain right now of a movie.
Right.
And I'm thinking you might have the same one as me, so we can just like go back and forth. But you
Sure.
might not. I'm thinking you might. My favorite villain is Franz Sanchez from License to Kill.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
That's an awesome pick, I have to say.
Okay.
It's not my pick, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, no, it's very cool that you
Okay.
would pick him.
I was
Right.
thinking maybe you were gonna go there.
It's a
Yeah.
great pick, though. I mean, he's definitely very sinister, great actor,
Yeah.
great,
Yeah.
perfect actor for the role, I would
Oh
say.
man, I think they nailed that casting better than any other villain.
Yeah.
Robert Davi, like he's probably one of my favorite actors because of that. I like him in a lot of other stuff too, but probably because of this movie, he's like one of my favorite actors.
Right.
But Franz Sanchez, like when I first saw this movie, I saw it at the show by myself, and I don't know how I got in there, but it was PG-13, but my mom dropped me off, and it was so that was 1989, so I was 10 years old.
Wow, I'm surprised they let you in.
Yeah, and I saw this movie once by myself, once with my best friend, and once with my family at the show.
Wow.
When I was a kid, but I saw this by myself, and my mom was kind of warning me. From what I hear on TV, this is going to be kind of a darker, scarier Bond movie.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. Like I didn't really believe her.
Right.
But I went in there and watched that movie, and here's my boy Felix getting chomped on by a shark. His wife gets killed. Like Bond gets pissed off, unlike he ever got pissed off before. And oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? A guy's head blows up in this movie.
Right.
What did I get myself into? But it's like the freaking best freaking movie I ever saw at the theater.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, and most of that
crazy,
because,
right? All of the action scenes were so good.
Yeah. But mostly because of the villain, though. Like I was scared to death of it. I'm used to these comic book style villains like Goldfinger and Drax and Blofeld.
Right. So sort of
and then you get
larger than life, wacky.
Larger than life,
Yeah.
Yes, larger than life, wacky, and I love that. I'm not taking anything away from that. But this guy, the first time I saw this, he terrified me to death. Like this guy seems, I didn't know anything about drug dealers, but like I can imagine that's how they'd be. Like I know Robert Davi did do a lot of research with Escobar.
Pablo Escobar, yeah.
Pablo Escobar, and the other two big drug lords at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I know he did a lot of it, and he's like a what do you call it? A method actor. What's it called when?
Yeah, where they get into character so much in
Yeah,
everyday
yeah.
life. They just live that way.
Yes.
Before the filming.
And
yeah.
Yes, and I guess he had talked with Pablo Escobar's architect or a guy that built his house, so he kind of got like an idea of his personality from this guy that had met him.
Sure.
And I know during the filming, Robert Davi and his little henchman Dario. I can't remember. I forgot that
Benicio
actor's
del
name.
Toro.
Yeah, Benicio.
Right.
Benicio del Toro. Yeah.
Sure.
I guess Robert Davi and Benicio would go out and like party in Mexico City and stay in character.
Wow.
As Sanchez and Dario. That's so freaking cool.
That's awesome because they had excellent chemistry on screen, right? They really did well together. I'd say.
Yeah, and I guess he brought so much like subtle little things to that character. Like another thing with him and Dario, he noticed like the Colombians are not very homophobic. Like they'll kiss each other like men.
Right. Yeah,
and he did that well.
Yeah.
And he did that a lot with Dario. So like the viewer might not really like, is this his son or a son figure? Or is this like his gay lover? Like it was kind of like ambiguous. Like he did that on purpose. Like he'd always be caressing Dario and or kissing him.
Right. And Benicio del Toro was so good with that. That far off look in his eyes all the time.
Yeah.
You never could tell what he was looking at.
Yeah, he was terrifying in that. Yeah, he was terrifying in that. Yeah, just the realistic character compared to the other Bond villains was super terrifying to me. Like I really was scared for Bond more than ever in that movie, and just that he was and his character was just so different from the others. Like he wouldn't, if you notice, like he was all about loyalty.
Right.
The DEA guys that double crossed him. His name was Killifer. He double crossed
Hmm.
Felix and broke out Sanchez.
Right.
Like any other Bond villain would have just killed that guy, but he's all about loyalty, so he gave the guy the money.
Actually paid him off, like what he
Yeah,
said he was
actually paid
going
him off,
to. Yep.
and all of his all of his men, like Milton Kress, all the guys he killed, it was because Bond set them up.
Yep.
Like, and they betrayed him. Like he didn't just kill them for no reason.
Right.
And except for the little Weasley accountant guy, like that's the only guy
Yeah.
like Bond.
Right.
But Bond ruined his day so much, he just shot that guy. Oh,
Right.
congratulations, Franz! Another $60 million write-off. And
Yep.
then he pulls out the Uzi. Time I start cutting overhead.
Right. Time to start
Time I
cutting
start cutting over.
expenses. Yeah. Or whatever.
Yeah, but yeah, so I think this guy, and he had a lot of good one-on-one moments with Bond. I think are some of the best in the series. Like when he first meets him at his casino, up in his office,
Oh yeah.
when Bond is scoping out the place.
Right.
Yeah, he's kind of pretending he's a rogue agent for hire. I thought that was such a cool interaction. And then later on at his island palace, they're out in his yard discussing. I remember Timmy looked like the business then, like he was smoking a
Hmm.
cigarette and he had his dress shirt unbuttoned. He looked so studly.
Right.
But so is Robert Davi so studly too. Like he's probably could be Bond too himself. Like
Oh yeah.
he,
Definitely.
but anyway, so Robert Davi, of course. I have other ones maybe we'll mention, but he's my favorite. Franz Sanchez. How about you,
Oh,
Wubs?
it's a great pick because he
Mm-hmm.
is like so severe, right? Before,
Yeah,
like certainly at least before the Craig films, he's like the most diabolical, like evil
yeah,
sort of. Well,
yeah,
maybe not the most evil. I mean, in terms of plot, right? I mean, a lot of the
yeah,
others
yeah,
were trying
yeah.
to destroy the world, right? They weren't
Yes,
just
yes,
trying to get rich selling drugs.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
but he's just so violent and intense and scary. You're
yes,
right. Like
yeah,
compared to the all of the villains that became before him, for sure.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah. It's a really tough pick. I'm gonna have to go with as far as a character goes. I'm gonna have to go with Blofeld just because of all of the schemes he hatched. Right.
Yes.
Like he
Okay. So
is.
Blofeld. Yeah,
Yeah.
Blofeld overall Blofeld. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And as far as a specific actor, definitely Telly Savalas for me, because
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
OHMSS is my favorite film. I
Okay.
also, love that. This is how amazing Telly Savalas is as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
He played this European evil guy who megalomaniac wants to take over the world, right? Any way he can,
Mm-hmm.
totally insane, with an American accent and
Yeah.
nobody
What was?
noticed. Nobody
Yeah, I
noticed
did.
his American
Yeah, it never.
accent, right?
No, it didn't bother me at all. It was so good. Like just the way he presents himself.
Yeah, it still blows my mind because
Uh,
usually I pick up on that in films. Like to this day, I can't
yeah.
watch Valkyrie with Tom Cruise because Tom
Okay.
Cruise uses an American accent in the whole thing, and it just
Oh
throws
yeah,
the whole. I can't take it seriously at all. Like I'll laugh at that movie,
yeah.
right? Like it's just
Yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah.
But Telly
Hmm.
Savalas does the same thing, and it's this larger than
Yeah.
life, ridiculous sort of
Hmm.
setting and character, and it just plays so
Hmm.
well. And
Hmm.
he's also the most hands-on Blofeld in the whole series, right? Like
Yes.
he's
Oh
getting
yes.
his hands dirty, he's in the ski chase, he's trying to escape on the bobsled. He's
Yeah.
fighting. He's got the fist fight with Bond on
Oh
the
man,
sled
he's
at the
so
end,
physical. Like
right?
he's the only one who's a physical threat to Bond. Like out
Right.
of all the Blofelds, yeah.
Yep.
Like yeah, he's like the most
And
physically imposing one.
he's got the grenades he's chucking at him,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
on the
yeah,
bobsleds. It was crazy.
yes.
Yeah, I loved it. And so yeah, as far as that goes, and I feel like we're kind of in the
Yeah, we're
next. We were going to
overlapping
talk about
into yeah,
Blofeld's next. I'm getting a little ahead of
yeah,
myself. But just real quick,
yeah,
not just him. I
mhm,
also wanted to mention 006 is such a
yeah,
unique ultimate villain, right? Because it is
yeah,
in a way in a way it's Bond's greatest villain because Bond basically has to beat himself, right?
yeah.
Like
That's yeah,
uh
exactly. Yeah, it's like Dark 007 or what?
right.
Yeah,
So like just that layer and even 006 at the end, right, is saying like I was always better, right? Like
yeah,
that sort of thing.
yeah,
So the implication is if that's true, Bond
yeah,
doesn't only have to beat himself, he has to beat an agent
yeah,
who's actually better than him,
yeah. And
and
you, yeah,
ups the stakes even more, right, for that last
yeah,
fight.
yeah. And generally, yeah, generally Bond just does it out of duty, like it's his job. There's a few exceptions, but that time when he's holding him over the satellite dish and he has his foot and he says, "For England, James, no, for me. This is for me, you motherfucker."
Right? It's so badass, right?
Yeah,
When he lets him go.
yeah, 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 yeah. No, yeah. There's tons of villains. I would put maybe Goldfinger up there too, just because he's like the villain of all villains.
uh,
I like the Kane. Yeah,
Kananga, right? Yeah.
yeah, Kananga. Yes, Kananga. Like super underrated. You know, another guy that's really underrated. He's not really a villain, main villain, or the henchman is General Orloff from Octopussy.
Right. Yep.
He's like that guy gives it like 150%.
I believe that actor played a Nazi before in a film earlier.
Oh,
Maybe
I'm sure he had. Yeah,
that seems
I know he
familiar.
would. Yeah, I just know him as the bad guy from Beverly Hills Cop and that. But like
Ah, right.
he just dominates every role he does. That guy, Stephen Burkoff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The
But
villains
any
are largely like the women. Like
yeah,
there haven't really been bad
no,
villains. You know.
no. The one
Um.
I hear people don't like because he's just kind of plain is Mr. Green from
mm,
Quantum. But I thought he was creepy as heck. Like I thought he was a good villain.
yeah, he was super creepy.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
he even got physical at the end, right? He goes
yeah,
insane with and almost
yeah,
kills Bond with the axe, and as
yeah.
the place is blowing up, right? I mean, it was pretty
Oh,
intense.
yes, yeah.
Also, the general at the end of Quantum was a pretty sick dude too, right? I mean,
Oh, that was
he
a
was the
creepy dude. Yeah,
rapist, and
yes,
had to
yes.
fight
That good.
Bond's
Yeah,
counterpart, the South
yeah,
American agent, right?
yeah,
Or the
yeah.
Bolivian
But
agent.
yeah. Oh man, what a cute girl too.
Yeah, she was beautiful. Or
But
Ola
you
Kurilenko,
kind of
right?
yeah, Olga
Olga.
Kurylenko. Yeah, and as hot as she is, you kind of put all that to the side because like anytime like rape or something comes into a
Hmm.
movie, like oh my god, I don't care how sexy this girl is and how beautiful. Like I want her to kill that guy.
Right. Yeah. That's the feeling at
Yeah,
the end, right? Because he's
yeah,
trying to
yeah,
rape
yeah,
the other girl,
yeah, yeah,
and she
yeah,
shows
yeah,
up, right? Like
yeah,
that to stop him,
yeah,
kind of thing. And that was pretty great too, I thought.
yeah, yeah. It was good.
She risked her life to kind of save the other girl.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Such an
and
interesting ending too, because that whole movie, that was another one that was all about revenge, right? Like
yeah,
the whole thing was
hmm,
Daniel's just angry because Vesper was
Vesper.
killed in Casino
Yeah,
Royale, so he's like kind of, it's kind of similar to License to Kill in a
yeah,
way, right? Because he's
yep,
just unhinged. Like the whole movie, he kills
yeah,
so many people. Anybody who gets in
yeah,
his way, he's just killing them, right? Uh,
yeah. He was so unhinged. He didn't think to bone Olga Kurylenko. Like, what's
right.
up with that?
That's a special level of crazy, right?
I guess it would kind of be like a distasteful because of what she had been through. I don't know why like
Right.
they didn't like he doesn't pound the hottest Bond chick. What's up with him?
Well, in a way, it's kind of an interesting movie because of that. Because that's
Yeah,
how broken up he
yeah,
is about Vesper, right? He did
yeah,
sleep with the British
yeah.
secretary,
Strawberry Fields.
or
Yeah,
yeah, Strawberry
yeah,
Fields, but
yeah,
you could tell how casual he was about that too. Like there was no
yeah,
discussion. It was just like, you know,
yeah,
handcuffs in the bedroom kind of thing.
Hmm.
We
Yeah,
both know what's about to happen. Let's just do it. Like he was
yeah,
he was clearly very emotionally available, right?
yeah, yeah.
She didn't seem to mind though.
No, 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 not at all. Yeah, so
Yeah.
quite a few villains. I can't really think of any bad ones. I hate to miss a few, but we'll be here forever. But that
I
kind of brings us into our next one, and you already answered this question: favorite Blofeld,
Right.
because there's been many Blofelds over the years. Probably the most reoccurring Bond villain, probably the most reoccurring Bond villain in the novels as well. And it's always been played by someone different up until Christoph Waltz
Hmm.
got to reprise his role. And I enjoyed his take on Blofeld, but my favorite, just like you, is Telly Savalas
Wow.
from On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Just like you said, he's uh, just the way he carries himself. He's probably the most suave of them all. Like he's the most ladies' man, Blofeld, and he's the most physically imposing one. Um,
In a way, he's the ultimate counter to Bond, right? Because
yeah,
because of that, like he's all of those
yeah,
things that Bond
yeah,
also is, right?
yeah. And they kind of kept the same bald look, and he had a cat. So like the
Right.
Donald Pleasance, which Donald Pleasance is like classic. He's classic as Blofeld, of course, but I
Yep.
think Tully gets more screen time and he does more. So Tully for sure. A close runner up for me would be Charles Gray, though. Like his
Hmm.
in Diamonds Are Forever. It's nothing really like Tully, but he had some funny lines.
His whole
And
thing doing
I
Willard White was
yeah,
hilarious, right? With the voice
yeah, yes,
changer, it
yeah,
was it was
yeah,
great. And then I loved his
yeah,
line when Jill St. John was trying to hide the cassette, and
yeah.
he
You're
says,
showing.
"Oh, showing a bit more cheek than usual, there, aren't we, my dear?"
Yeah, such wonder, such a pity, such wonderful cheeks too. If only they were brains. Yeah.
It's so funny because it's also insulting to Bond too, because it's like, oh, of course,
Yeah,
the women he associates with are morons, right? But
yeah, yeah.
for Blofeld, that's not enough, right? He has to have a woman with
No, yeah,
brains too.
yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah. So, yeah. As much as I like Charles, it would have been so cool to see Telly come back in Diamonds.
I still, that's like my fantasy film, right? Is
Yeah,
the Diamonds Are Forever with the cast of
yeah,
OHMSS,
yeah,
right? And
maybe,
somehow working Tracy's dad into it as well,
yeah,
because
yeah.
we never saw him, right? We never got to see
No,
what did
no,
he do after she died, because he
yeah,
also must have been destroyed, right? His daughter was
yeah,
his
yes,
life, right? Like
yes.
it doesn't make
I,
sense that Bond is on his
yeah,
own in Diamonds. You would think like
yeah,
he would be totally funded by Drax's corporation or by
yeah,
the father's
yeah,
corporation, right?
yeah.
Um, there. So
Like he's the ultimate Bond villain. I always am happy when I hear he's gonna. Like I was jazzed when I found out that Christoph Waltz was gonna be Blofeld.
yes, I was
Yeah,
too. I was
yeah,
so excited
yeah,
for that because I'm a
yeah,
big fan of Christoph Waltz in
yeah,
general, and I thought he was
yeah,
really added a lot to the character too,
yeah,
in his own
uh,
way. And it was great that he was
yeah,
recurring through the series. I was really glad
yes,
they kept the same actor for
yeah.
those films.
Yeah, I was. We'll probably get to that movie sometime, but like, I really love what Spectre did. Like, it would seem like it was trying to please me as like a classic Bond fan with a lot of the stuff it
Hmm.
did.
Right.
But we'll talk about that, and Blofeld just being like one part of that. But we'll talk about that later, I guess.
Sure.
Speaking of Spectre, there was a pretty cool henchman in there. We had Batista in there, but
Right.
there have been all kinds of henchmans over the years. That was another reason why I like Spectre. They brought back a big scary henchman from
And similar in a way to Odd Job, right? Because he doesn't
yeah,
speak at all.
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right.
Very physically imposing, right?
Yeah,
Intimidating, but
hmm,
no lines, just
yeah,
just facial expressions and the
yeah, yeah. You're
fights.
right about yes. There's some pretty good fight scene with him. But as far as henchmen go, I always put that in a different category than main villain because the henchmen I don't really categorize him with the main villain. But we'll talk about
Sure.
our favorite henchman now. And I think I already mentioned this earlier. Jaws is my favorite from
Right.
Spy Who Loved Me.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon me.
And
Spy Who Loved
Moonraker.
Me and Moon. Yep. I turned into a good guy eventually, but I didn't care. I love Jaws. But Richard, played by Richard Kill, 7-foot guy with metal teeth. Um, I just ever since like he's the one that got me into Bond when we discussed at the beginning of the show. I used to dress up like him as a kid. I would get like vampire teeth out of the gumball machine, and then I get my mom's. My mom said, "Oh, she said, don't put paint on them. That'll make you sick. Use nail polish." I don't know what her lodge. I don't know what her. I don't know what her logic was. I guess because some people chew their fingernails, maybe so that if
Oh,
it's not
right.
toxic. So,
Yeah.
so I got silver fingernail polished and polished and painted the gumball machine teeth, and I would wear that. I put suspenders on. I dressed up like Jaws,
That's awesome.
but like we were talking about, he's Terminator before the Terminator, even like Michael
Mm-hmm.
Myers before Michael Myers. Just this
Sure.
unstoppable creature of a human.
Very
Um,
intimidating. Also, no
very
lines, right?
yeah,
So
no lines. Yep,
all of his acting was expression
yep,
and the physicality of the
yes,
fights.
yeah,
And he was so intimidating. And I mean, to Roger
yeah,
Moore, especially, right? Roger Moore just looks like
yeah.
this little guy next to him.
Oh man, yeah, and he's about 6'1" or 6'2". He just looked like a little kid next to him.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, and another thing cool about Jaws, I think someone pointed it out during the commentary. Like he kind of has a bit of class to him too. Like he's almost like the Bizarro version of Bond.
Right,
Like
because
he
he
has
dusts himself off right after
yeah, he
the
dusts
the
himself
building
out.
falls on
Yep,
him.
yeah, yeah, or he'll straighten his tie out or
Right.
whatever. So I never thought about that until I heard the documentary. I don't know if it was Lewis Gilbert or one of the writer or the writers mentioned that, or maybe Richard Kill mentioned that. Like there is kind of like a bizarro sense of Bond you get from Jaws, like a little bit of that Bond class.
He even has the woman in the second one, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
girl
yeah,
with the
yeah,
pigtails, who his
yeah,
girlfriend,
Dolly.
who's sort of
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
silly, like
yeah.
Bond girl, right?
Yeah, I guess they originally wanted him to meet up with a tall girl, like was going to help him from that gear or the cog that he was under.
Right.
They
But it was
they
so much
originally
funnier to
wrote
just have this little girl who's like
yeah,
stronger than
yeah,
he is.
yeah. But I think but Richard Kill was the one that mentioned why doesn't Jaws have a little girl like the total opposite of him? Because I guess in real life his wife, I actually met her too, is a lot shorter than like a petite little girl.
Oh wow,
Um,
that's awesome.
So, but it was originally going to be a tall girl. It'd have been funny to see like a tall girl be his girlfriend, but it kind of works better with the little girl because it's like total opposite attract type thing.
Now it
But
just makes me think Gina Carano, right? Like she would have been
yeah, yeah,
really,
yeah,
really
yeah,
funny for a
yeah,
role
something
like
like that.
that, you know?
Yeah, something like her. Yeah, or if they found. I thought it would be cool if they found like some model, like some really hot girl that's like 7 feet tall to be his
Yeah, that would have
to
been
be
wild too.
yeah,
She's taller than
yeah,
he is in heels, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. But anyway, and I did meet Richard Kill before he passed away. Um, he was at a convention like a week before he passed away, unfortunately.
Wow.
And I wanted to meet him my whole life. He lives in my area, but I never met with him. I know sometimes he speaks at events or churches,
Hmm.
but I never met him up until that convention. And he signed my Moonraker poster. I was so jazzed. I was going to talk to him and ask him stuff, but I got starstruck, and I just like I clammed up, or how do you say it? I
Just got
got sta-
quiet. Yeah.
yeah, quiet. But I'll try to put a picture of it in the video. But he did the pose, the Roger Moore choke pose to me,
Wow.
and I met his wife, and they were such nice people. Him and his wife. I was so jazzed to see him, and I think they could see that. And I walked away. I walked away after he had signed my poster and everything, and took a picture. And I forgot to pay them
Oh
And then
gosh.
and then
Wow.
and then I noticed I noticed I still had the $40 or whatever it was. Like,
Hmm.
oh, I didn't pay them, and I went back over there. I go, like to his wife, I go, I'm sorry, I didn't pay. She says, oh, she said, oh, we weren't even noticing, but thank you. Like, and I gave her the money. Like, uh, but
Wow,
but
what
anyway,
a great experience to have. It's so
yeah,
sad he
yeah,
died so shortly
yeah,
thereafter, but um,
mm,
you know, he. I always thought like he's probably a really cool dude in real life,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
he always
oh,
had that sort of gentle giant kind of
yeah,
vibe to me in the films I've seen him in.
yeah. Mm-hmm. And you know who his favorite Bond is?
It's not Roger Moore.
No,
Who is it?
George.
Is it really? Oh wow,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
Wow.
I wanted to ask him about what I really was wanted to ask him more than anything. Something silly was that movie Silver Streak with Richard Pryor and
Mm-hmm.
Gene Wilder.
Right.
I wanted to add. I never heard anything about this. That movie was before The Spy Who Loved Me, and he was a henchman with metal teeth.
Oh wow, I totally forgotten
Or
that.
and I always just assumed it was after The Spy Who Loved Me, and they were just cashing in on the Jaws thing. But
Right.
that movie came out in it's like 75 or something, or
Wow.
76. And I
I
was gonna ask him like was that inspired by Silver Streak, or are you just like the typecast guy, metal teeth giant guy?
right.
Because I never hear anyone talk about that. Like if that he had metal teeth in that movie and he had gold teeth in Silver Streak, I never hear anyone make that connection. I was going to ask him about that, and I just like
Mm-hmm.
got stage fright. I didn't ask him anything.
Well, what's interesting about that is that was actually before Spielberg did Jaws, then, right?
Yeah,
Because wasn't
that
that
was
like
oh no,
77?
no, that was 75. So it was after Jaws.
Okay.
But his name wasn't Jaws in the Silver Streak, but he was like a henchman with gold teeth.
Okay. I gotcha.
Yeah,
That's still,
yeah,
yeah, I'd be curious to know that now. Maybe we could Google it and
yeah,
find out, because
yeah,
that is so
yeah,
interesting. Played such a similar
yeah.
character. The only thing I remember
Mhm.
about Silver Streak is Gene Wilder in the bathroom. Richard
Oh, that was
Pryor making him put on the black face and learn
yeah,
how
the
to
shoe polish.
dance and listen to the radio.
Oh man.
That was so great.
Also, yeah, it's a funny movie. I love that movie. And then also J.W. Pepper was in there.
Oh, right. I forgot that too. Wow. I gotta
Yeah,
see that film again. I've seen Young
yeah,
Frankenstein like 20 times. I've only seen Silver
yeah,
Streak like once or twice.
yeah. Okay, yeah, you got to watch it again.
Yeah.
I, but Jaws, I'd say runners up for me would be like Odd Job, of course. I think he might be just as good as.
Hmm.
And then another one, the duo of Kid and Wint from Diamonds Are Forever. Like they've
Oh,
always
they were
been my favorite. Like
so creepy. They were so
yeah, I
creepy
love
together.
yeah yeah I love those guys.
Mr. Kid and Mr. Win. Saying that to each other, just like talking in the third
Yeah,
person
yeah.
constantly.
It was kind of cool how the one guy, Mr. Wint, seemed like a proper villain, like he could be a main villain. Mr. Wint, he was so
Hmm.
creepy and the way he delivered his lines.
Right.
And then the other guy, Mr. Kid, just seemed like some goofy American guy. Like he didn't even seem like an actor. He just seemed like some guy. Like, hey, okay, Mr. Kid or Mr. Wint. Okay. Yeah. Oh, we were on to henchmen now. So, what about you,
Right.
Wubs? Who's your favorite henchman?
This is gonna feel really strange and wacky compared to your picks, probably, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
go with Boris from Goldeneye. I just think he was
Oh, yeah.
hilarious,
Okay. Yeah.
and
I forgot to mention him. Yeah.
yeah, like his character, you know, his character was so funny
Hmm.
and severe, right? Because I mean, he was in on
Yeah.
the whole plot. He knew about
Yeah.
they were going to kill all his coworkers and everything
Yeah.
else. And I don't know, maybe it's because
It,
I used to work in IT and I know what office
yeah.
life is like.
Okay.
Every now and then you
Yeah.
have those fantasies, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But Boris also just such an unlikely henchman, right? Like the nerdy
Yeah.
computer guy.
Yeah.
And I view him though like that too because I played the GoldenEye video game so much, right? And
Yeah.
you have interactions with him several
Yeah.
times in the game,
Yeah.
and he's just funny. And if you turn your back on him though, I'm pretty sure he pulls out a gun and tries to shoot you on the
Yeah.
control level, but he
Yeah.
fails
Yeah.
completely. He drops the gun, right?
Yeah.
So, like, he's
Yeah.
like, please don't shoot me.
Yeah.
Just such a
I forget
weasel, you
this.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. I forget this. Can you shoot him in control, or do you lose if you shoot him?
I think if
I
you shoot him,
forget.
you lose. Yeah,
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure. Um, I can't remember. It may depend on which difficulty you're playing on. I think if you kill him
Yeah.
on agent, it doesn't matter, but you might need him for secret agent or something else, or you gotta
Yeah.
let him go, something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, but in the movie
Yeah.
too, like he's such a creep. He fools Natalia so that they can kidnap her,
Yeah.
and all of that. And but at the end, he's so funny, right? When he's trying to get the satellite to come back online, and he's just
Yeah.
freaking
Yeah.
out. It's just so fun to
Yeah.
watch him go from like super arrogant hacker to like
Yeah.
completely losing his marbles, and then ultimately the whole place collapses, and he gets hit with the what was it, the not
The nitrogen, or
yeah,
the
the nitric,
liquid nitrogen.
yeah, the
Yeah.
liquid
Yeah.
nitrogen. I'm
I'm
invincible.
invincible.
His
Yeah.
catchphrase was hilarious, right? I am invincible.
I'm invincible. Yeah.
And that
I
actor
love it. Yeah.
actually, I forget his name offhand, but he's a famous
Alan Cumming.
Alan Cumming, right? Yeah, that actor, Alan
Yeah.
Cumming, he's a famous British actor, right? And he
Hmm.
he also played the MC, the Master of Ceremonies in Cabaret on stage, I believe in the
Oh
90s.
yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen some of
Oh
that
wow.
online, and wow, he was amazing in that
Yeah.
as well. I've never seen the whole thing, but I've seen him,
Okay.
do some of the songs from the play
Oh wow, that's
online,
pretty
and
cool.
he's great.
Yeah.
He's really good as an
Wow.
actor.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, they always seem to cast like great people in these roles in these Bond movies.
His Russian accent I thought was great too, right? Like
Yeah,
he
I thought.
actually
Yeah.
really tried to do the accent.
Yeah. No, it was good. Yeah. 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 Now that now that you mention it, it is kind of unsettling. Like he's like this IT tech guy and kind of a funny, weird, socially weird guy, but you wouldn't expect him to be like someone who would sell out everyone and have everyone killed.
Right. Yeah, like he's pretty diabolical, right? And
Yeah.
but in a fun way, right? He's
Yeah.
wearing
Yeah.
the
He is.
Hawaiian
Yes.
shirt at the end, right? And the when
Yeah.
they're setting up the golden eye
Yeah.
to destroy
Yeah.
the bank, the British banks, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's death with a smile, right? Like
Yeah.
he's the
Yeah. No,
closest thing
that's
you
a
get to
good
the
one.
Joker in the Bond films, right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. He might even be a cool main villain if he had showed up as a main villain.
Right. I think that's
Yeah.
something they could do now, right? But back then it was like
Yeah.
computers were still this sort of weird,
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of just the realm of the nerds type thing. But now
Yeah.
they could definitely have a hacker as like the primary villain,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
With how digital the world's become,
Yeah.
I could definitely see that.
Yeah. Yeah, good pick for sure. Though I respect that one a lot. I never think of him as a henchman, but he actually is a henchman, more like a brainy henchman more than a brawny henchman.
Right. Very, very
Yeah,
much so. So,
yeah,
do you want to talk about femme fatales then?
yeah, yeah. You want to go first? Or you want me to?
You go first.
Okay. So, if this counts, it's not in the main series, but Fatima Blush from Never Say Never Again
Mm,
is
hmm.
my favorite femme fatale. I know there's a lot of them very similar to her, but I think like she just nailed it so perfectly. Um, but I think Zinnia gets a lot from her. Like sometimes
Hmm.
like you could confuse the two; they're so similar.
Sure, they're
I
both
think
very
Zinnia,
sexual.
Yeah, yeah, both very sexual. Like they almost kind of get off on like they get orgasmic over it's like someone suffering or something.
Hmm.
And Xenia might be a little bit more physical. I think Fatima kind of usually leaves it up to her men to do her work, where Xenia usually is hands on. She'll do it herself. Um, but I just love the way just her presentation of that character and her style and just the way she walks. I think that
Hmm.
that movie Never Say Never Again gets a bad rap, but I think everyone agrees like her performance in there is something special. This every time she's on the screen, she's such a beautiful girl too, but she pulls off being very authoritative, how do you say authoritative? Like she has a
Authoritarian.
lot of
Yeah.
authoritarian. Like she has a lot of authority and how
Hmm.
how she delivers her lines.
Right.
Like she seems like has a lot of power. Like she's
Very confident
General
woman.
Jack, but yeah, very confident. Like she's like putting that guy, that General Captain Jack Patachi, in his place. Like she's tossing that guy around like he's a little kid. This is like a military guy, and she's like has so much like kind of like she kind of has like a sexual power over him and physically like beats the heck out of him too.
Right.
And I just love when she first encounters Bond. It's probably one of my favorite puns, but we'll get to that later. When she water skis up on Bond, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I made you all wet." And he had a martini in his hand. He's like, "Yes, but my martini is still dry."
Right. It was
That
perfect.
was a great scene. And then there was a pretty darn risky, passionate love scene with them inside the boat. I think that
Hmm.
was kind of really risky for the time. Like usually they wouldn't show that much like love making on
Right.
the main series.
Early 80s.
And then yeah, and then she had a few good lines at the end during her demise when she's holding Bond hostage and she's wanting him. She has such a big ego. She's wanting him to write a letter of an endorsement to her saying he's the best shag he's
Right.
ever had. I just
Yeah.
love that scene. Yeah, yeah.
Well, there
So
was this one girl
fat.
in Philadelphia.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
That is so hilarious, right? It's like this guy's been all over the world, all these exotic places, but this
yeah,
one girl in
yeah,
Philadelphia.
yeah, yeah,
It's hilarious. No, that's a good
yeah.
pick. That for sure.
But if you went off of the main series, it would be a tough one. I don't know if I could pick if you go off the main series, because of course Zinnia's almost like that, and I like Mayday a lot. They're kind of similar
Hmm.
too.
They are.
And
Mayday is
and
probably the most masculine of any of the femme fatales,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But also
And
beautiful.
yes, yes, something about the way she presents herself is kind of masculine, but like she's still a pretty girl. But what's her name too? The Fatima was based on from Thunderball.
Oh, right. She was great. The original,
Yeah,
the one he
the
dances with,
redhead.
right?
Yeah,
At
yeah,
the
yeah.
club or
Fiona. Yeah, yeah.
Fiona.
Fiona Volpe. Yeah,
Yeah, she was a
yes.
beautiful
She was a good.
actress.
And there was the other redhead, Helga Brandt, and I don't know. I could go through them all day long, but who's your favorite from
For
Fatale?
me, this is actually one of the easier uh, categories.
Yeah.
Amazingly, it's easily Xenia for me. Like
Oh,
it's
good,
not
good,
even
good.
close. Yeah.
Yeah,
As far like I just as far as like dangerous women go, right?
yeah.
Like, does it get any more dangerous than a woman who, gets off on the suffering of other people,
Yes,
right? And
yes.
pain. Like, she's such
Yeah, yeah.
a masochist, right? Like,
Yes, he is. Yeah.
and
Or yeah, like yep.
so beautiful,
Yes.
so intimidating, and so extreme for 1995 too, right? Like she was just
Yeah.
like, wow. I remember seeing that when I was a kid. Goldeneye was one of the first Bond films I saw, and I was just like, whoa, this
Yeah.
is another level.
Yeah.
um, yeah, and just like I don't know if I can't say that there's been more chemistry or like sensuality in between James Bond and an actress than Pierce Brosnan and Famke Jensen, right?
Yeah. Oh man,
Uh,
that yeah.
like like it is just wow, like
Oh,
sizzling
it's all
between
yeah,
them, right?
steamy and steamy and sizzly and wet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
And she does that as a villain, right? She's not
yeah,
even the main Bond girl, but like, yeah,
yeah,
like that's how impressive she was.
yeah. That one scene where they're at the that facility
The Russian
where she went in
facility.
there.
Yep.
Yeah, she went in there and she was shooting everyone with a machine gun, and she was like having an orgasm when she's shooting all of, like killing all
Right.
those people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
I mean, I remember being like 10 years old and thinking like, this is awesome.
yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah. No kidding.
Not quite knowing why I thought it was awesome, but I definitely did, right?
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
so yeah, that's
Solid
my
pick.
pick
Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah. Heck
Femme
yeah.
Fatale for
And if
sure.
and on Goldeneye, if you run away past the bridge, you can just have Natalia kill her.
Right?
Yeah, you don't even have to see Natalia with her magnum. She just bam, bam, blows
Right?
her. Yeah.
That's right.
Did you think? Were you kind of sad to see her go? Because there was still quite a bit of the movie. Same thing with Fatima
Hmm.
Blush. Like after those two characters died, like did the movie kind of seem empty after like the last half hour
Well,
without her,
I think it
or you
would
didn't
have
mind?
if there hadn't been. I mean, Goldeneye had like just the such an
Yeah,
amazing lineup of villains, right? Like all of the
yeah,
villains were great, so
yeah,
it
yeah,
it sort of made sense that she was the first one to
yeah,
get
yeah,
taken
yeah,
out. I'd
yeah, yeah,
say,
yeah,
you know, and because she was
yeah,
also like just fudging nuts, right? Like,
yeah, 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 yeah. No kidding.
she was like, trying to strangle him to death, strapped to a helicopter line,
Yeah,
between her
yeah,
legs, like.
yeah, yeah,
And that's another one I think of the best puns in the series, right? When he takes her out, she gets stuck in the tree,
yeah,
and he
yeah,
says she always did enjoy a good squeeze.
yes. I like how he delivers those one liners.
Yep. That was a good one. Just such a memorable character. But
Okay.
yeah, I was sad to see her go, of course, because
Yeah.
she was such a powerful, villain, femme
Yeah.
fatale force, right? Like
Yes.
again, and that's why I say, like, for me, it's an easy pick for that category. I just don't think
Yeah.
the others in the main series came close. I can see why you chose the one from Never Say Never, because they are very similar, right? In
Yeah.
how they did things.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Femke was inspired by that actress for the role,
Yeah.
probably. You know.
Probably. Yeah.
So yeah, next category is location, right?
Yes. Yes.
What's your favorite location from a Bond film that you've visited?
Okay. I haven't been outside of the United States at all. I haven't even been on the other side of the country.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a place. As far as a place I've been to was probably, well, my wife and I, on our honeymoon, we stayed at Circus Circus in Vegas, and I just picked that location because it was a Bond location.
Sure. Yeah, from Diamonds, right?
Yeah, yeah, and it looked a lot the same in the '70s. I'm sure it still smelled the same, like cigarettes. Um,
Right.
I don't know how it looks now, but we would walk around, and it kind of had the same vibe as the '70s. I think the White House, or Willard White's house, was.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's the Hilton. We went in a bunch of those buildings. We really had the vibe of that movie still from the '70s.
Sure.
And then, so that was fun going there. Um, so that's probably my favorite, just because it was our honeymoon, and that's like the only Bond location I've been to, other than I went to the Dunsmuir Estate, this nice mansion in Oakland, California, where they filmed, where not Tracy part, Stacy Sutton lived on
Oh,
A View
okay.
to a Kill.
Right.
The house where Roger Moore has the fight in that house.
Right. You see the sea salt, the rock salt in the
Yeah,
shotgun. Yeah.
yeah. Funny enough, the interior scene was a totally different house, but the exterior scene was that Dunsmuir Estate. I went there.
Okay. I've
Yeah, but that's my favorite location I've been to. What about you? Have you been to any?
Yeah, I have. Well, I've been to New York City a few times,
Oh,
right?
excellent.
So
Yeah.
Live and Let Die, right?
Yeah.
I've been to Harlem.
Oh,
The
yeah.
parts I've been to look quite different now than they
Whoa,
did in the
yeah.
70s.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, a lot of New York looks way different there.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So it didn't have quite
Yeah.
the same vibe, but
Yeah, yeah.
I have been there, and I've been to the Bahamas. So
Oh, wow.
featured in quite a few of the films, right?
Yes.
Um,
Oh, I'd love to go there.
yeah, it was a fun trip. Did that with my girlfriend
Yeah.
at the time after college, so that was really
Wow.
fun.
Yeah.
Um, I've been to Cozumel, Mexico, but I haven't been to like Mexico City or other locations that
Yeah.
actually would have been in the films, right?
Yeah.
But as far as my favorite location I've been to from one of the films, I would say San Francisco, actually,
Oh,
from
excellent.
View to a
Yeah.
Kill. I've been to the Golden Gate
Yeah.
Bridge,
Yes.
so
Yes.
that's kind of awesome, right, for the final battle in
Yeah.
View to a Kill,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and Roger Moore's last film. So
Yeah,
yeah.
love it. Yeah, I have been there. I forgot to mention that's really close to me. I forgot to mention that, but I'm glad you got to visit that.
hmm Yeah, that was
Hmm.
really exciting for me. I love San
Yeah,
Francisco. I was there 20
yeah,
years ago. I'm sure it's changed a lot now, but at the time it
yeah,
was great. I spent part of a summer
yeah,
there in
yeah.
school.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Were you able to go to Alcatraz?
I wasn't. I did go to the Fisherman's Wharf and of course saw
Yeah,
Alcatraz, at a
yeah,
distance. I didn't make the trek out there, but
yeah,
I would like to go now because I've seen a bunch of films that take place in Alcatraz since then.
yeah.
So, like, I
Yes,
recently watched the Escape from Alcatraz with Clint Eastwood from the late
yeah. That's a
70s.
good. Yeah, good
Yeah,
movie.
that was a great movie, and so I think I would appreciate it a lot more now.
Yeah,
And also,
yeah,
saw The Rock with Sean Connery, of
yeah,
course. Uh,
yeah. And some people say that is a Bond movie.
that's
Yeah,
reasonable. I mean, it was the closest
yeah,
thing to a Bond film he did
yeah, yeah,
probably in his later
yeah,
years.
yeah,
So, I could see that. I mean, he's
yeah.
great in it, right? He totally
Oh, heck
steals the
yeah.
show,
Oh, yeah, love him.
uh, for sure. So
Yeah,
that's a great action film for sure.
yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
But
So if you,
yeah.
we got to get together. If you come ever again, we'll get together because that's like 2 hours from me.
Okay, yeah, I would love to see.
Yeah.
That would be a great trip. I'd love to
Oh,
take a day trip or a few days out to San Francisco. That would be really
yeah.
fun for sure.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
So how
So,
about locations that you would like to visit though that you haven't?
okay. Okay. So, I know you mentioned the Piz Gloria restaurant up on top of that mountain. I'd really like to
Right.
go there, but if I could just go to one place, it would be Venice, Italy, like to see the
Ah,
canals and St. Mark's
okay.
Square and all that. And
Because of Moonraker?
that's it. Yeah, well, it's been in a few. It's been in From Russia with Love at the end, and Moonraker, and Casino Royale, right?
Right, and Casino
Yeah,
Royale. Was
yeah,
Venice? I can't remember. Was Venice in Skyfall, or was that another Italian place? Because that was Italy at the beginning, right?
yeah, yeah.
I
I don't think
believe
it was Venice. I don't know. I'd have to watch it again. I know for sure it was
it might have been
in,
Florence. I'm not
yeah,
sure.
Florence, maybe. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it could have been.
but anyway, yeah, that's a great
Yeah,
pick. I would love to see Venice too.
yeah.
So
I
much
can't
history there.
imagine any. Just from seeing that place in pictures and whatever, I can't imagine like a more beautiful city in the world than that.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's got to, and so unique too on the water.
yeah, yeah. On the water,
Um,
crazy. Yeah,
just amazing.
yeah,
And one of the best endings of all the films too, right? From Russia with Love,
yeah,
I would say, when they're
yeah.
on the gondola in Venice, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and he throws the photos, he throws the film into the water or
Yeah,
whatever, the
yeah,
recording of them
yeah,
both, right?
yeah.
And waves goodbye to it.
I love it. Yeah,
Oh wow, yeah, that's a great pick.
yeah, yeah. But
Um,
how about you? What about you? The one you'd really
so
like to go to?
this is gonna sound weird probably, but I think you'll appreciate it because of your favorite film. I'm gonna go with Outer Space from Moonraker.
Yeah. Oh, good point. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it would be
Yeah.
amazing to go into space to a space station,
Hmm.
especially if
Hmm.
you got to blow it up and then come back to Earth, and
Yeah.
attempt re-entry with Dr. Goodhead.
Yes.
That would be pretty fun. But going to outer space would be amazing. Something I've wanted to do since I was a kid. So yeah,
Oh, heck yeah.
that's my not place pick, right?
Yeah.
But if I was gonna go to a place on Earth, the one I think I'd really love to see is Khao Khan from the island in Thailand that was used for
Yes.
Scaramanga's lair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's now known as James Bond Island. Huh.
Yes. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that would just be amazing to
Oh,
see.
that I would love that. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
my
Good
pick.
picks. Yeah. Good picks. Yeah.
Hmm.
Excellent.